Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Lenore Bowles and today I'm here to tell you that I have daddy issues. So this video is going to be a little difficult because how many of us want to admit that we have had daddy issues in the past? Probably very few of us, but that's my reality. Is I didn't grow up having a very easy relationship with my dad. Love him to death. He is my dad. Called him daddy. Grew up in the same household. Biological father. Like, I know who he is. I know he loves me, but I didn't grow up feeling like daddy's little girl. And I know that that contributed to some of the bad decisions I made in a relationship. So how does that affect me now? Well, it doesn't really affect me as much now at 32 years old. But when I was younger, in my early 20s, I was searching for, I don't want to say I was searching for a daddy because that's kind of gross, but I was searching for a male to be in my life, and that led me to dating men much older than me. That led me to dating men who were not good enough for me, that abused my kindness and how naive I was. And it sucked. So throughout my teenage years, I fought with my dad a lot. Arguments, sometimes physical fighting, and that taught me how to be in a relationship with a man. And obviously, now I will say in my, as an adult, I never got into physical altercations with my ex. I was definitely verbal, but I put up with a lot of behavior that I probably never would have put up with had I had that role model growing up. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have that, and I learned to accept things that I probably would never accept, right? And that's not fun. Knowing what I know now, I know that I struggled in a relationship and held on so tight to this relationship because I wanted someone, and that all stemmed from the relationship I wanted with my dad that I didn't have. Now, I will say he's always been in my life since I was a baby. He's always been around, and it's didn't start getting bad until I was a teenager and then can form my own opinions. And I'm not gonna lie, I probably wasn't the easiest child to get along with. I was very stubborn. I'm still stubborn now, and I'm aware of it. I like my own way, and I talked back. I'll own it. I broke curfew. I did a lot of things, but a lot of things that I did were things that a lot of teenagers did. So it's not like I was extremely bad. I will say I played sports full time, I played varsity sports throughout high school. I worked a full-time job throughout high school, and I got good grades. So in my eyes, I'm like, man, I'm not even that bad, but I'm always in trouble and we're always fighting. And that was a big struggle for me because I would ask my mom, what did I do to deserve this? Why does he hate me so much? Now at 32, I know that he loved me, but wasn't able to express that to me. And I'll say it sucked. As an adult, I'm from Vegas, so I moved to Georgia, and I struggled initially. I was in college, and I don't have a trust fund, and I worked full time all through college, and I had to figure out how to pay for books. And for me, I was a good student, and this could be me just being totally entitled, but I never asked for anything. I just asked for help with one thing one time, and it was books. And it was a good reason to ask for help. And I was told, it's not my problem. So for me, I felt like throughout my entire childhood, things were good. Loved my dad to death. Now, of course, there were some other things going on between my parents, and I was a very aware child, so I knew what was going on. Even if I didn't necessarily say to my mom, I know what's going on. I knew that they were fighting. I knew what they were fighting about, and I knew that it scared me, but I still loved my dad. And as a teenager, I still loved my dad, but I was rebellious because I didn't feel that he respected my mom enough, and I didn't feel that he respected his children enough, and I didn't feel that he showed me the love that I thought I needed, or that I thought I deserved, that I did need. And I just didn't get that. And some of us don't. We just don't get the love and support that we think we deserve. And as an adult, I realize it's because he didn't have the capacity to give it to me. He did the best he could with what he had. And when I realized that, light bulbs went off for me. I no longer had to be upset. I no longer had to struggle, and I no longer had to be angry for the lack of love and support that I felt that I needed. So at 19 years old, struggling in school, struggling to pay for school. Did really well in college, but I struggled to pay for it. Asked for help one time, was told, it's not my problem. And I really decided that I cannot depend on him for anything outside of having a relationship with him. And that's okay. So it's okay now. And I do realize that at that time, I was kind of like, forget this. If he doesn't care enough for me to help me in my one time of need, then I don't care. It doesn't matter. And this is not to bash him. I love him to death. We're actually much closer now at 32 than I've ever been with him in my whole life, because I realize that he struggled with things too. He didn't have the best childhood. He learned really bad parenting skills and really bad behavior. And that, of course, is a generational curse. So that cycle goes on and on and on. And I made a decision probably about, I don't know, maybe like 25, that I can't be angry anymore. And it would always be my mom. Of course, they had gotten a divorce. And I would like come vent to my mom, like, I don't understand why he's this way. Why does he treat me like this? Why does he talk to me like this? And she would say, it's the only dad you're ever going to get. Like, you're going to have to figure it out, because it's the only one. And if I ever said anything bad about him, she would check me right in that moment and say, that's your dad. It's the only dad you're ever going to get. And I'm getting emotional now because it sucks. You hear stories about girls who get to like be loved on, and I didn't have that. And I learned to love a man who treated me very similar to the way that my dad did, and it didn't feel good. These are not tears of like sadness. It's tears of clarity and understanding and release. I still release this because I don't know that you'll ever fully get over daddy issues. I am much more capable of spotting BS and what I'm not willing to put up with, but I still got to deal with him. I talk to him. We could talk on, we live in different states, so I talk to him on the phone, and I love him, and I care about him, and I worry about him, and all of those things that a child does about their parents. I just have this place where I started out in pain, and that played into my relationship. And even though it's different pain, it all stemmed from not being secure in my relationship with the first man in my life that mattered, my dad. And I know now that it's okay that I struggled with that. And of course, I'm still learning. There's still some days, like, we don't fight now. We don't argue now. It's always good and, like, I don't want to say fluffy, but God love him. He had prostate cancer and I was worried about him, and I offered to take off work to go out there and he wouldn't let me do it. And I worry, just like any other child will worry about their parents. And he's doing much better now. So I'm so thankful for that. And, you know, he wasn't very spiritual growing up. So I had my mom, who was religious and grew up in the church. And then my dad, who was religious, but he was Catholic, grew up in the church. But as an adult decided that that's not how he wants to live. And that's fine for him. So it was that battle of my very Christian mother, who to this day is very Christian, and my dad, who grew up Catholic and knew the same principles and the same ideals and the same principal concepts of Christianity, knows them, lives as a decent person, but can't express that love. So when I say I have daddy issues, I understand that he did the best he could with what he had. And it wasn't always fun. And it's still sometimes hard to understand. But then I have to put myself in his shoes. I don't have children now, but I will one day. And I just pray that I'm able to give them the love and the support and the understanding that I never got. So I picked the wrong men over and over again. Now my ex I talk a lot about my ex of 7 years because it's the longest relationship I had, but it wasn't the only one. I dated other people, and the common theme out of all of these relationships was they didn't respect me enough to really understand what I needed from the relationship. And I allowed it. And understanding that I allowed it because I had this issue from my childhood that I never dealt with sucked. And that was all a part of my healing. So looking back, it's not just accepting horrible things from men. There may be an issue from your past that caused you to struggle and caused you to learn what you should not be accepting. But because you were taught that as a child, it became acceptable for you. So how do we get past that? Because that was really, I can't believe I started crying. I mean, I can believe it, but I'm an empath, so I cry all the time and I feel emotions and I have really strong emotional swings either way, whether it's anger, that happens, or like I will cry at the don't let a sad, sappy commercial come on because I start tearing up right away. So that's just who I am, and I accept it. I own it, and I actually like it. It makes me who I am. So how do you get past your daddy issues? So with me, I tried to address it, and I didn't feel like it was received in the way that I needed it to be received. So I had to make a choice. Again, I'm always talking about choices because it's all we have at the end of the day. So I chose to do what is called a write and burn. I wrote out every single thing, negative feeling that I'd ever felt about my relationship with my dad. Every single thing. And that was hard. It was so hard because, like I said, he's my dad and I love him to death and I would do anything to help him. But he hurt me as a teenager and he didn't love me the way I needed him to love me, and he didn't support me the way that I needed him to support me. But I forgive him So it's all about forgiveness again. And I'm on like this forgiveness kick. And that's my like motto in this new life, because people will do and say things that hurt you, whether it's intentional or not. You have to make the choice to forgive. It's not for them, it's for you. Because like I said in the past, people will go on living their lives and you will be all pissed off about something that they did to you, and they don't even think twice about it. And they're just living their lives all happy and merry, and you are stewing and miserable and upset and angry because you are holding on to it and they're not even thinking about it. So I made the choice to do this write and burn. So I write out everything negative, and it was a pretty long, probably 4-page document. And it was every negative thought I had thought about myself in regard to my relationship with my dad. And I burned it. I almost set my house on fire, but I burned it. Not on fire, but the alarm went off. It was fine. It was contained. So I burned it in the bathroom sink and I watched it disintegrate. And that was the release I needed. And I actually used this technique over and over and over again, not just for my relationship with my dad, but for the relationship with myself. If I'm ever feeling or saying like really negative things to and about myself, I will pull out a sheet of paper, write everything negative, all the negative, nasty feelings that I'm feeling, and then I will burn the piece of paper. If burning it is not okay for you and you're like, I'm not down with that, you can also tear it up, put it in a shredder. Really, you just need to destroy it some way. For me, burning it was the best because there's no coming back from that. Once it's burned, it's ashes, and I can start moving on. Now, once you release all that negative energy, you have to fill yourself back up with good things. So, music, read a good light book. Sometimes I would get the dogs and I would go out on a walk. So it wasn't a one-time thing, because that was a lot of years of hurt and feeling of inadequacy, and I had a lot of things to work off, and I had to do a lot of write and burns. I had to do a lot of praying, and I really just took the time to forgive my dad for the things that he did. Whether he did them intentional or not, I'm not sure, because like I said, when I tried to address it, I kind of got a wall. And for me, that was, you're not ready for this, and that's okay. I still need to heal and figure this out. And I did. And it's a constant thing. And now this has been like years and years and years of, even before breaking up with my ex, I would say maybe 2 years after dating him, I was really at a place where I had for 100% forgiven my dad. And that was beautiful for me, because I was so angry and so upset that I didn't have the relationship that I dreamed of, that I would see other people having with their fathers. So I forgave him. It all boiled down to a choice. Now, the tough part about this was I forgave my dad as I was already in my current toxic relationship. So I had forgiven my dad in those feelings, but those feelings had already led me to the relationship that I was in. And then, of course, watch some of those past videos. We spiral and things happen, and yeah. And then I had to re-forgive myself for that whole ball of drama as well. But I had daddy issues, and that led me. Now, why does that matter when you're healing from a relationship? Because a lot of us have issues from our childhood that currently affect us to this day. I haven't lived with my dad since I was 19 years old. And that's okay. So from 19 to 25, I was still dealing with these issues because I'd never dealt with them. And I didn't even know I needed to deal with them until you pray and then a light bulb goes off that this is broken inside of you and you need to fix it. And at the end of the day, you're the only person who can fix what's broken inside of you. Other people can want it for you. I know my mom wanted it for me so bad she couldn't fix it. I had to make that choice myself. So I say all of this to say that just because you have daddy issues or you have pain from your childhood that is bubbling up and bubbling over into your current relationship, it does not have to affect you for the rest of your life. You can heal from it. You can move on. Now, I say I did write and burns, but I also did that in conjunction with my own personal development. So reading as many books as I could on self-love, reading as many books as I can on relationships, reading anything that made me happy. So I have a whole bunch like You're a Badass and all these books that are about self-empowerment, but I would also read the Bible, of course. I talked to a life coach. I would also do something that made me feel good just for the sake of doing it. So I love helping people. So I upped my volunteer game. I started volunteering as much as I could, helping other communities or helping people who didn't have as much as me. I am very, very blessed to live a comfortable life and to have a good job and to be able to do what I love every day. But I didn't always have it that way. Now that I'm at a place where I can, I started volunteering as much as I could and donating my time, donating money when I'm able, and really just giving back to other people for the sake of doing it. Not because I need the recognition for it, not for anything else other than the fact that I needed to really get the focus off of myself. Because yes, I was struggling because I had these issues in my childhood that I couldn't really understand, and I didn't understand why they were happening that way, and I didn't understand a lot of things about it, but I needed to figure out how to move forward. So I did. I started volunteering. I did my write and burns. I talked to a life coach. I prayed as much as possible, and I really just put all of my focus on forgiving my dad, forgiving my ex once I got to that stage. And now I'm currently still volunteering as much as possible, donating my time as much as possible. I do these videos because I don't want people, I felt alone. I didn't know that, I guess I knew that people have daddy issues, but I didn't know that you can heal from it until I actually made the choice that I'm sick of feeling like this. And those same feelings of inadequacy were some of the same feelings of inadequacy from the relationship several years later when that broke off. So this is just to say that daddy issues do not have to last a lifetime. You can get past your daddy issues. You just have to make the choice to do so. Forgive those for the negative things that they've done to you. Decide to move forward. Do your write and burns. Pray as much as possible. Give back and fill yourself up with all of those positive, good feelings that you deserve. And then you can start progressing towards living a happier life. So thank you so much for watching this video. I will continue to post them. I really love doing this. So subscribe if you haven't already. Like, can you thumbs up the channel? And go ahead and, subscribe, share, and share it. So like the video. Hit that subscribe button and share this video to someone who may be in need. I always say you never know who is struggling. Sharing this video just might help them. So thank you, and I will see you in the next video.